Okay, boss. So next option would be what? To create info package. So next option would be to create info package. So what is the purpose of this info package? Okay? We use info package to schedule the data loading from source system to data source. Cube is a data container. Data source is also a container. I told you there's something PSA, persistent staging area. Data source is nothing but PSA is nothing but data source. Both can be used interchangeably. Actually, when I activate data source, internally it does create one PSA table. But actually, when you run the info package, it actually schedules the data from the source and loads it to my data source, nothing but PSA. I can see that too. Now, when you right click on the data source, one second. Huh?
So now what exactly doing the modeling, sir?
Modeling. Okay. When you right click on the data source and say manage, it does, what is it, look at this, request for PSA, it does give some name, /PSA, that's actually a database table name. Okay, we'll see that later, but see, we use info package to schedule the loading from source to data source. Okay, now I'll create it. How to do this? Select data source, right click and say what? Create info package. I'll say load from flat file to what? PSA, nothing but what? Data source. Okay, say okay. Don't have to do anything, just go to schedule tab and say start. I have triggered the loading now. Now it actually extracts all the data from the file. There are around 49 or 51 records, and go to I can monitor the loading now. Go to monitor, how many bus? 51 records are loaded. Now all those 51 records are loaded to what? Cube or PSA? Only PSA. I can see those records. Now right click PSA under data source. Right click on the PSA and say what? Manage. See, now I see this. You can select this. If I want to see data, select this and say what? PSA maintenance. I got packet 1 of, this is one request. In that there is only one packet of how many records? 51. Say okay. I can see those 51 records. Okay. But if I see my cube, there is any request here? No data is let come in. Now I need to load data from what? Data source to cube. To schedule the data load from data source to cube, I use something called DTP. Standard DTP. DARD. Yeah. We can control it also. No, I'm not getting into details. Again, I'll come back into detail of every checkbox, every property in the info package. Don't worry. Just flow how it works in BW. Yeah. Now I can create it like this. Now I got a cube. Okay. We have to create what? Standard DTP. Just expand this cube. You see a folder. What is the folder here? DTP, data transfer. You can right click and say what? Create data transfer process, or you can right click on the cube, say what? Create data. Okay. Just select this. So you take, now for this DTP, what is my source bus? In the data source. But did I already load my data into data source? Yes. Those 50 records will be picked from data source and loaded to which target bus? Cube. Say okay. Don't do anything, just activate your DTP bus. And if you want to run this, just execute, then what? What is happening now? It is actually picking data from data source and loading into target bus. If you want to see the status, yes sir, you can see the status here. Done bus. How many records are loaded? 51. What is the request number? This is a request SID actually. If you want to see actual request number, go to the header tab. Here you see DTPR. This is actual request ID. And this is SID of the 674. How many records have come in? 51 records. Now I can go to the manage of the queue and see the history of loading. I can see all the log of loading. How did you see? Right click on the queue and say what? Manage. You see 674 is my request. SID of the request actually. If you want to see request ID, get to see it to the corner. DTPR. This was actual request number. And if you go to right, you get to see how many records are transferred? 51. And how many are added was 51. So my queue is being loaded with 51 records with one request. Okay. I can see the data in the cube. Right click on the cube and say what? Display data bus. Okay. I say field selection for output. What all I want? I want to see all characteristics. Expand, execute. Now do you see this data bus? This is data in the queue. And some people ask me a doubt. But file was having document number first together. When I stored them data, some people asked me doubt. Document number was showing In the Excel file, document number is beginning. It is only B1. Next thing, year is log. This is only view. It's only layout. You can just adjust it whatever you want. Okay. Now see, like any other characteristics, what is coming from the file. Do you also see request ID? You ask me, can we see request ID in the queue? This is a request ID in the queue. So with this, I can know all these records are coming with same requested DTPR run. Okay. Ante cube is loaded bus. Now I want to design some report on this queue. Okay. So for reporting, I told you for in BW for reporting we use a component called BEX. Now look, I'll go open the query design. Now go to start, all programs. We have component. What is this here? BEX. I'm going to use within this there are sub components again. We're going to use a component called query design. Just get into this. I want to log into this system. INDIA 123. So now this is my query design. You very create your query. Say now I'll say what? Create new query. So as soon as I create new query, it will ask me what is the provider you want to use. And what is nothing but what? Which cube you want to use? Is this another cube name? New query. What is it? Select info provider. What is your provider now? Cube. Okay. Open. So you'll get to see all the cube objects here, data packet, time, everything, and key figures first, right? And you just have to drag and drop based on the query what you want. See, if I drag some info bit into rows, it will list out those values downwards. For example, if I put customer, you get previous one to the right low. If I drag customer here, what does it say? It will show customer value downwards. A customer, B customer, C customer, kindi get lost side. You will get downwards, okay? If I place my year across into columns, it will show my year values across. A year, B year, C year, D year, like that. If you drag informative rows, I get all this one. So I want trending. Say which keyword do you want to have? Say I want to have grass somewhat. Now I will say what? This column will show for a particular customer for a particular year. This will show for a particular customer for a particular year. Like this. Let's say I want to do drill down on product also. Let's say I want to drill down on order number in free characteristics. Okay. And that's it. Now let's say I want to use quantity also into this. Query is all about drag and drop. Okay. And then save in. Let's say this is a query I give it to my user bus. I'll say description. I'll say sales overview Kelly store. Okay. And I'll say the query technical name is X sales like cube name. I'll say B Bex query distribution. Some naming. I'll just save my query with. That is saved bus. Okay. Now once it is saved, I can start running this query on the browser. Naked output rather than, but I can still. I have not done the settings. Okay. I have not configured the web application server yet. Configure just like output వచ్చేస్తుంది browser లో. Because BW is not Excel reporting. I can run that on the browser. Okay. I'll do that later. But I want to see that query output bus. Okay. Other way of doing it is you can use this T code RSRT. There is a T code RSRT where you can use run your query. I want to see this query output in HTML format. Okay. Execute. So do you see actually it is just showing me only 5 customers. Why only 5? This is the file which we use, right? Let's do this. Data filters customers ఎంతమంది ఉన్నారు చూడండి. ఎంతమంది ఉన్నారు? 5. But actually how many records did you load it to queue? 51. But when you drill down on customer, what is happening? It is grouping. It is performing the aggregation function of sum on amount and quantity with group by customer. 51 records have been grouped with respect to each of the customer and formed 5 records, and that is what 5 you are getting in. So customer wise, and it is splitting amount and quantity for each of the year. I know that there is a data for 3 years, 2012, 13, 14, so you get to see data for 3 years. I can do slicing and dicing. Let's say I don't want customer in the report, remove this. I don't want year in the layout. Yeah, you can remove this. Now let's say this is a total amount, total sold. I want to do analysis on the product bus. Drill down on the product. Now I get to see all 4 products in it. Now remove product. I want to drill on order number wise. Drill on order. Now I get to see for each sales order. I get to see all the 51 records in it. Now I don't want the order number. I want to drill down on the year wise. Now you get the year. Okay, 2013, 14. And I want to drill across the customers. Now customers will be split across like this. Okay, remove customers again, remove year again, drill down on customer number again. Now drill down on year. Year is showing for all the years, right? Don't show me for all the years, just show me only for 1 year. Then I can do what? Year, just filter. I want to filter only for 2012, just get it only for 2012. So user can just play around that query. He can do slicing and dicing on the query and get the analysis what he wants. This is like he can do querying on this. So did you understand about BW what we are trying to do? So as per this was the reporting requirement I had in my mind. So based on this, I just analyzed where it is. So I could find a file, created a connection, create a cube, created my info objects, created a cube, then created a data flow, loaded my data, then designed a BEX query on top of it. This is how you implement data warehousing applications with BWs. Okay, no? Now I can still see more detailed flow now. I can just right click, set display data flow, or you can say, okay, I think that. Now see data source, source system, data source, transformation, and what? Cube. You can switch on technical names to get to see technical names. I also want to see runtime objects. Means runtime objects are nothing but info packet DDP to load your data. Just click this. So I also get to see. Why it is not showing? See now what is this here? This is info packet, Z packet. This is used from loading to source to what? Data source. Here you have దాని కింద ఒక DTP కూడా ఉంది. So there is one more button there. That is what DTP is representing. So this is DTP. The green one is what? Transformation. So DTP is connecting what? Data source and cube. It load from data source to cube. This is BW. And this is plain. So getting into more details, we'll have different types of cubes, different type of data source, different type of, you'll have to extract data from different connections, not only flat file, from R3, DB connect, you'll have different type of connections. There you get the variations out. So you have to, now you got transaction data, but how do I bring master data? How do I use ODS? And how do I get into more details of transformations? How do I write routines? If you want to transform, we get into more details of each of this topic. Info package details, DTP details, transformation details, cube details, data source details, all this. Okay, boss? So for today, we'll stop it here, and tomorrow, now, knowing this, at BW అంటే ఏమేమి ఉంటాయని నీకు అర్థమైంది. Now we have to start getting into what? దాంట్లో మేజర్గా ఫస్ట్ స్టెప్ ఏముంది? ఇన్ఫో ఆబ్జెక్ట్స్ ఉంది. So we should touch on the topic, how do we create info objects? So now you know if I'm touching some topic, why I'm touching that. Okay, Nanda? So I'll get into create info objects then tomorrow. Then it may not take so much time. Then we start getting how do we create master data with this info objects. So we'll get in slowly, get into the system. Tomorrow also slightly I'll get the info objects, but you understand info object creation we have seen, right? So we don't have to spend time on this much. We'll go to something called extended star schema. Very, 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 very important. This schema is important, but don't miss this class. ఈ క్లాస్ మిస్ అయితే బిడవలని అర్థం కాదు. ఇది అర్థమైందంటే బిడవలు అయిపోయినట్టే. దట్స్ హౌ ఇట్ ఈస్. ఓకే.